Peter was again on the station today. He was on the station yesterday with Baskin and Phelps. He was on the station with the Morning Boys with Daryl and Spencer today. And he brings up something here in talking about the Cavs and self-evaluation. I think there's a step before getting this thing right that we have to kind of acknowledge here.
The Cavs owe it to themselves to evaluate themselves. I don't think they are close. And I don't think there's anybody inside the organization that should think that they are close. They lost 4-1 to the Indiana Pacers. They lost a series in which many of their players after the fact were talking about them not being ready or not being mentally tough enough. This is a team that needs to take a harsh look in the mirror this offseason and ask themselves some very difficult questions about what they want to compete for and how it is that they are going to take the next step to compete for those things.
The Cavs have to self-evaluate, and the Cavs have to be honest with themselves. And I know that the trades that all of us want might not be out there, but after looking at what you've done in the regular season, looking how the last 3 postseasons have transpired, we need to stop deluding ourselves into thinking the Cavs are a championship team yet. They're not close. They've not come close. Whether they were healthy or not this year, health isn't the reason you got gentlemanly swept again.
I think health plays a part into it. No? Like, I don't know that you go down in that series 4-1 with a healthy Darius Garland, who I thought was the most integral missing piece in the series because he's imperative to how their offense operates. Like, I think health play, it's not the only thing, and I agree with you. Like, self-evaluation is needed. I just don't think they're that far off. Like, when we talk, they're not even close.
Yeah, they're not.
They were the number 1 team in the East. They won 67 games.
You just mentioned a bunch of regular season things. What about the postseason?
You swept the Heat in dominant fashion.
That was a tough one.
And then you were injured with 2 out of your 3 best players, 3 out of your 5 best players. You lost the series.
Going into that series, do you think Tyrese Halliburton was the best player in the series?
No, Donovan Mitchell was the best player in that series.
Where you think Hallie was 2?
I did think Hallie was 2.
Okay. Well, Evan Mobley, was he the second best player in that series?
Oh, he's the 3rd best player in that series.
Third best. Yeah. Where'd Darius Garland come before like Siakam came involved? If we think he's the second best pacer, where was Darius in that?
Darius was, I think it was a fight between 4 and 5. I think him and Siakam were somewhere in that range.
You
together.
had your two of the 3 best players in the series. They were healthy, and you got gentlemanly swept when you were favorited in every single game, but 1 game. Is that?
Yeah, I mean, Vegas was out of their mind in putting you as favorites with no Darius Garland.
No, that's revisionist history.
I don't think it was.
Vegas was out of their mind. No, the Cavs were a 64-win regular season team. The Cavs had been the better team until they showed up in that series, got punched in the mouth, and folded like an accordion.
I think they were the better. Like, game 1 going in, they should have been favorites. I think by game 2, when there was no Evan Mobley, no Darius Garland, no DeAndre Hunter, and it was clear those guys were hurt enough to miss a game, I don't see how you're the favorite, which they were, if I'm not mistaken, in that game, or very slight underdogs. And then as soon as they were back off of 1 game's rest, they were all of a sudden favorites again.
So do you think DeAndre Hunter getting a full offseason, Kenny Atkinson getting a full offseason as the head coach and a full offseason to run his program, that's going to turn Jalen Tyson and Okoro and Craig Porter Jr. into the bench from hell that is going to give everybody the business?
No, so this is where I think that we're just slightly different on is when we talk about, I don't think they're there. Like, they're not ready to win a championship with the roster currently constructed. I just don't think when we say they're very far off, they're not even close. I think a healthy version of this team with tweaks and adjustments is right there, like right there ready to compete.
I think the healthiest version of this team gets gentlemanly swept in the 5th round.
Second round?
Sorry. Gets gentlemanly swept in the 3rd round of the playoffs. I think, you might make the Eastern Conference next year. But at some point, because here's the thing, every time in which they were so much more talented and healthy than Miami, that's why you blew them out. But anytime they're in a real dogfight in a series, and I can say this because, they weren't healthy. They're in a real dogfight. They got blown out 3 of 5 games against Indiana. They weren't healthy the year before in Boston. But anytime they got pushed, they fell over. The year before that, anytime you got pushed, you fell over completely. Like, at some point, the trend is, like, at some point you can't ignore the trend of, like, well, okay, even if the injuries are it, okay, how are they going to magically stay healthy now?
Like, I think that's a fair question. Like, looking at this team and saying, are they just brittle? Are they injury prone? Like, that's a fair question to ask. I think with Darius Garland, it's tough because look at a guy that I think, like, people have projected him to have the Steph Curry body transformation of essentially being undersized and scrawny to putting on some muscle and being able to defend a little bit better.
And still being a little scrawny.
Yeah, a little bit, but a better defender. Like, Steph certainly got better defensively after he added some pounds of muscle on. I just think, like, when we talk far off, I'm like, okay, you might have two pieces that work. I don't think trading Darius Garland and Jared Allen and wiping out the bench is the complete answer. Like, I think your bench needs adjustments. Isaac Okoro, sorry, Mac, is an absolute, like, nothing at the contract. He's not helping you. He's not worth playing playoff minutes. And then I think you have a question to answer on Ty Jerome.
I think
you can probably move off Jared Allen.
I think Isaac Okoro is going to be somebody else's Neesmith. I don't think it's going to work out here because I think they've, as an organization, I think they've kept him around, and I don't think the belief is there anymore. I think that's a really nice 3-and-D piece, 7th, 8th spot off the bench. Good player. Not great play, but playable in the playoffs, absolutely.
Yeah, if he could hit a 3.
He can.
He can, but doesn't in the moment.
By the way, well, no, he didn't in the Indiana series because they didn't have a point guard and they stopped moving the ball. Like, there is a part of this where it's like we do have to, and this is where the Darius injury stuff is fair, but like, okay, you might not have had Darius out there to facilitate. Guys, this is not set up anymore. That Darius is just the pure facilitator. No, as a matter of fact, the whole point of the offense this year was you took the onus off of Darius and Donovan as playmakers, and the emphasis was on playmaking and the ball moving and players moving, which allowed the shots to come. And they stopped doing that. That has nothing to do with Darius. Now Ty Jerome getting exposed in the playoffs, yeah, that's because he's not a point guard, not a starting point guard. If he was a backup point guard, you would have had different success there. With guys like Isaac or Dean Wade, we got to look at the cause and effect of, yes, Darius was out. He's a great playmaker. That would have helped you overcome that. You had Darius, and I know he's hurt, so I want to give him a little bit of caveat here, a little bit of a pass here. You had Evan Mobley in that game 4 cooking. They could not stop him. Could not be done. And every time Evan would make 3 or 4 baskets in a row or 3 or 4 important offensive plays in a row, the guards would go back out to jacking up 3-pointers. You would get tangibly within reach and then bad shot selection. And honestly, the ball stopped moving. And by the way, the ball didn't really move that well with Donovan bringing the ball up the court and chucking it into to Evan Mobley. But at least it was giving you quality offensive possessions in some regard.
Yeah, so I think that's the point, though. Like, okay, so it's a philosophy change is why that didn't work. It's not like a pieces part. Like, you look at Darius, Donovan, and Evan, all of them were still crucial pieces there. It was the fact of what they actually were doing on the court, not what they're capable of doing on the court, was different. That's what was wrong.
Are the Cavs further away than we think?